Hi guys, this is Giovanni Di Grezia. This is another tutorial on 3D equalizer. This is a sample scene. We have a bit of parallax shift, nothing to be excited. Today I'll show you my scripts version 1 for Reconstruction. There are some scripts, but they have different names. But usually you can see that they are an improved one of the first. So we have delete non-keyframes. And you can see the next version is delete non-keyframe and triangulate, this one. After you have delete non-keyframe, triangulate and real-in and distortion. Or you can have real-in and deform, real-in and deform with distortion, real and deform inside, real and deform inside with distortion. Or you can have also the average 2D points, and these five scripts are the same into the field 3D, because there are these scripts here already covered in a previous tutorial are also useful for a general reconstruction in 3D space. So let's start. The simple one is delete non-keyframes, and it works in a simple way. If we create, for example, a new point here, here we have a point in this place. Okay, we have another point here. Let me delete this. Okay, we have a point here, a new point here. Okay, so now we have 3 keyframes, and pressing delete non-keyframes, we will have a track only with keyframes. You can say, oh, why are you doing this? Because usually this is very useful when you have to triangulate points. So after this path, you can also have a track only with the keyframes. We have the delete non-keyframes and triangulate, and you can find the same here, delete non-keyframe and triangulate. And this is useful because let's delete this point. We have 3D distortion here, for example here. Let's delete also this point. Suppose that you have tracked this shot here. So now you want to rebuild this object into your 3D application. You want to export 3D points in the corner to model this object in your 3D favorite application. The normal workflow is to create a new point, for example here, track it, it's difficult to track it, also for a few frames, and after that triangulate, triangulate points. So if you have already created a 3D camera path here, you will need only 2 points to triangulate a 2D points into 3D space, because if you have this point from this camera, this frame, you can track a line, but you don't know what is the end of this line, where is the point positioned on this line. So if you use also another frame, you can track the same point into the 2D feature on the video. You have another line and you can triangulate the point into 3D space. So you need a minimum 2 points to triangulate a 2D feature into 3D space if you already have a tracked camera. But you can also use more than 2 points. You can use 3, 4, 5, and 3dqualizer triangulate function will try to minimize the deviation of that point in the space. So see how this works, how this thing goes. Suppose we want to track this. We want to reconstruct this gate into a 3D application. We only need 2 points, and usually we should place the points into the keyframes and camera frames that have a lot of parallax shift, so you can triangulate them better with less errors. We have a point. We can delete this one. We can create the points, and the points that we are going to create are keyframes. So we can create, for example, a keyframe here, and after that we can create another here when we have the maximum parallax, and we can use, so we have only 2 keyframes points. So we want to triangulate using this point and this point, and we can use delete non-keyframes. So this will say to 3dqualizer to discard all these spline points and only use these 2D keyframe points to triangulate the 2D track into the 3D space. So let's press delete non-keyframe and triangulate, and bam, we have this point. So this is very useful because, for example, we have this corner. We can click here, go to the dot center, go to the last C here, and delete and triangulate. After that, we can create another point here, and another here, delete and triangulate. And so we have the 4 points here. You can see them here. And we can use this point when exporting the project to create models. This is useful often when you don't have, you can track a lot of points, when you only to place 2D points in specific position. So we can do the same here. Or here, for example. I think this is the point. Okay. You can use also more than 2 points. It's the same. And we have also these 2 points because it's difficult to track this one, and so we can only use some points to reconstruct it. The procedure can be also more quick. For example, let's delete these points were created using this method. We can, for example, create all points in a frame and also other points in another. So we can create one point here, control click here, control click here, and control click here. So we have 92, 93, and 94. 1, 2, 3. We can go, for example, at the end, and you can click 92 here, 93 here, 94 here, select all three and delete keyframes and triangulate. This is mainly a time saver action. Also, after that you can reel in, selecting this point, edit, and reel in points, and so you can have also the 2D tracks on the footage. We can see this one here, right here. Okay, and this is the delete non-keyframes and delete non-keyframes and triangulate. After this, we have the delete non-keyframes, triangulate, and reel in. And we have the reel in inside, with distortion or not, and we reel in visible or with distortion. The reel in inside, it's only a function that allows you to reel in the points only between keyframes. So I can show you this. Let's delete this point 87. For example, we create a point here, another point on here. We can delete non-keyframe, triangulate, and reel in inside this. And we can reel in inside using or not using distortion. For example, we can reel in inside using distortion. And now we have only the points reeled in between the original keyframes. We can also have the same using non-distortion or using visible, and visible, it will mean that this curve will go under the end of the frame. Nothing difficult. So first 5 already covered. We have seen delete non-keyframes and triangulate. We have seen delete non-keyframes, triangulate, and reel and distortion is the same. Reeling inside the distortion is the same, and visible is only into the frame. So the main difference between reeling, the normal reeling with distortion is reeling in all frames, also outside the FOV, using or not using distortion. The reeling inside and inside with distortion is only between the keyframe range, between positioned keyframes, inside using distortion or not. And we have also the average that are scripts from the field 3D. So we have seen delete keyframes and triangulate, reel, triangulate, reel in, and now we should see the form. The form is similar to the form to keys, but we have the reeling using the form, normal deform with reeling the form, and the form using or not using distortion, and we are reeling using the form inside keyframes with distortion or not. You can see that if you place, for example, delete this, you create a point here, and here I should create a point right here, but I create for some errors here, or because I want to place here. You can see that now we have a point here and here, the two keyframe. If I do delete non-keyframe and triangulate, 3dqualizer try to create a point between the two original. But these points are not good, because you can see that there is a gap. So the 3D point right now is this, and if we do a normal 3D point, delete, triangulate and reel in using the distortion, you can see that backup this first and triangulate and reel in, you can see that now the points are different. The points are different because 3dqualizer used our initial keyframes to detect 3D points in the space, and after that he tried to reel in, and during the reel in with distortion he changed all keyframes, because after calculation the 3D points was here, and so the 2D points reeled in are in this position. But we want that the reel-in curve, we want the curve should pass on our keyframes. So if I restore this, I can see that I have this keyframe and this keyframe. It's under the original one. So we want a new tracks to adapt to these new keyframes, and so we can use the deform. If we use the reel-in deform inside with distortion, you can see now that the 3D point isn't now good, but after calculated 3D point, now the reel-in curve has been adapted to previous created keyframes. And now we should recalculate from scratch and use the 3D point now calculated from scratch using this. So the idea is to correct some errors after the normal 3D calculation, because if you place keyframes here, if you place a keyframe here and in the same position here, you can calculate the 3D position, and if the 3D position is in the same position of 3D tracks projected, you can import, you can reel in the curve and adapt this curve to the keyframes. So the idea is to tell to 3dqualizer, please calculate for me a 3D point using my keyframes, and if the 3D point is distance from my 2D curves, please reel in the curve projecting onto the 2D, making them, modifying, deforming the curve, passing within my keyframes. So I think this could be a good script if you want to reel in 3D points using your own keyframe. So you can have a 3D point in space. This point isn't correct. You want to reel in this 3D point, but you want also to constrain this reel in curve to your keyframes. So it's simple. You can simply triangulate, reel in, and deform. I think that I could also add a new script, for example, only reel in and deform. So if you already have only 3D points, but you don't have 2D points, you don't have to do the first part, delete non-keyframes and triangulate, because you already have a 3D point, and you only want to reel in and deform. So I could have also this script if it's useful. But right now this only means using or not using distortion during the reel in. Inside or not inside is only if you want a 2D curve inside the your keyframe ranges, or in all range in the timeline. This is all, and now I'm going to create another movie using an adjustment script called 2D curve local filter. Okay, so thank you very much for your time. You will find this script and description inside the video description. Thank you very much for your time.